Well, good evening and welcome to the sixth session of Parent Aid Ed from SGS College. And tonight we will be going through the university's application system in the UK, otherwise known as UCAS. My name is John Walker, Head of SGS Careers and School Services. And so for the next 15 minutes, I'll be sharing with you some of the ins and outs of this application system so that you can support your students and your children as much as possible. So at SGS, we run a four-stage process for the university application system. Firstly, we really want to start where we think a student will have the tools necessary in order to make a good choice, and that is getting good advice and guidance. And as the head of the career service, we will be front and center of that, alongside the tutors and actually their peers who they are studying with. Secondly, we want the students and yourselves to be able to research those options clearly and easily, and I will go through some of that. Thirdly, the application process itself through the university's college's admission system, or UCAS. And fourthly, accepting your place at the university come the summer. So stage one, getting good advice and guidance. And right now I'd like to introduce you to our careers team, and there are 9 of us operating at different levels and different capacities. And these members of staff would be able to help your students by sitting down with them and giving them what we call a one-to-one careers conversation. This would really help them to unpack the aspirations they have, the maturity levels they're at, and what it is that they think they would be most suited to as they move forward. Because before they apply to university, we really need to understand what it is that they'd like to do in the future. And this is a developmental process. It will take some time, and that's why we offer the career service to all of our students on all campuses. Once that initial advice and guidance is given, we then move on to encouraging students to really research the options. And I'd like to point out 2 pathways into university and into applications. The first one is a degree via the traditional pathway, and that is where the student will apply through UCAS. But the second one is a degree via the apprenticeship route, something that is rapidly growing. And in this case, the student would not apply via UCAS, but they would apply direct to the company. Now, the difference here is that the second route is actually a job, the apprenticeship, and the student does not pay university fees. However, it's a more difficult and arduous route to follow, and we would give students as much support in order to do that, but as it is something that is less available than the first route, which is the traditional pathway to the hundreds of universities that we have in our country. And I'd just like to say that we are the envy of the world in terms of university education, and we would really encourage students who are able to do so to seriously consider a university application. So secondly, after you have decided which pathway to go on, there are 6 areas that I'd like to highlight to you as a parent in helping your child to look at the various options available. One of the things that many universities run is what's called a summer school. And that school is where they'd spend 2 or 3 days with a number of students from different schools, different comprehensive educational institutions, and where they really try and give a flavor of that university. It's usually completely free of charge, and that really, I've seen students come alive not thinking that they would want to go to university, and then attending a summer school and really finding it to be a real eye-opener. Secondly, there are many university open events, and this would be half a day or a day where hopefully as a parent or a carer you take your child off to that university, maybe in a different town or within our cities that we currently live and work in, to see what courses are on offer. And again, that's a really helpful way of cementing in a young person's mind whether university is the right option for them. Thirdly, it's understanding different course contents. Now, you may want to do, say, biomedical science at the University of the West of England, or say at Aberystwyth University. Now, those 2 courses, although they look the same, will have different course contents, different units, different opportunities, say in practical experience, and that's really helpful to look into before you go on to that application process. Fourthly, checking league tables for your university course of choice. Now, newspapers like the Times and the Guardian always publish league tables for universities and league tables for particular courses. And universities must publish as well their employability statistics. That is, once you've done a 3 or a 4-year degree and you've spent 6 or months to a year afterwards looking for work, how many of those students from that university were able to go into employment, graduate employment, or into a postgraduate course. Fifthly, and this is a really interesting one, working backwards on LinkedIn. Now, how did others get their dream jobs? You may find that your child is aspiring to a certain profession. Now, it would be worth going on to, be it friends of yours or just generally onto LinkedIn and looking at people in particular careers and seeing how they got there, because often there is quite an interesting route to getting where you want to go to. That's a really interesting one to look at, and not something that not many people would be necessarily thinking about. And finally, student chat rooms. Now, what's the course actually like? And you will find that students who have applied, who are already there, will talk about that university and that course. And those chat rooms are available on Google for students to look at and really understand. So we really want to be able to use the internet in a way that is helpful and gets you the real information before you go to that actual application. So once we've done that initial advice and guidance and done the researching, then you get to the nuts and bolts of the matter, which is applying through UCAS. And this is the UCAS homepage. It's at ucas.com/students. And the student, normally our students, 16 to 18-year-olds, would go on to the applying under the undergraduate section of this sign-in. Now, we at the college will coach the student through, and also we have special training courses for our teachers so that they will know exactly what the student needs to do at every stage. And the UCAS website is a wealth of information, videos, articles, student voice, all sorts of things to help you in making that decision and getting through the process. But I'm going to go through that process in a little bit more detail right now. So the first one is the student's role. Now, what does the student need to do in this process? And normally you would start applying in the September before the following year's cohort would start university. So registering on what's called the UCAS apply system, putting in all your details, choosing your universities, up to 5 of them, crafting your personal statement. And again, we as a career service and also tutors will really help students to think about their personal statement, which is actually up to 4,000 characters or 47 lines of text, where they will sell themselves to the university admissions team. And finally, paying that UCAS fee, which is £26 for up to 5 universities, which is very, very reasonable. And that gives you all the access to the UCAS process. The parent carer role, yourself. So what would I recommend that you do? Well, really, it's supporting your child's aspirations, not necessarily your own. We know that we have such different offspring, even within our own families. And so really it would be listening to them, working out with them. And one of the really helpful ways is to encourage research trips to universities and go along with them to see what's on offer. Thirdly, the tutor's role, and this is very, very key. The tutor at college knows your student, knows your child better than anyone else. And so the things that they would be doing is writing the all-important student reference based on their course, content of what they've done, what they've submitted, how they know the students in the classroom, and just that general wraparound understanding of their development. And then also checking and approving applications so that the students put down everything that they need to, and then the tutor is the one who approves and sends it off. And finally, the career service role. So what we do as a career service is we troubleshoot applications. It may be that an application gets mislaid in the system, so we'll find it, and we also talk to UCAS in the back office to make sure that everything is running well. So once you've looked at these various aspects and you've started applying, we want to remind all parents and students about deadlines. And there are 3 main deadlines. The first one is for those applying to Oxford and Cambridge or to do medicine, dentistry and veterinary science. The deadline is much earlier than all the other courses. It's usually, well, it is October the 15th. And this is because these universities are extremely competitive and therefore they need the time to work through the vast numbers of applications that they get in order to be fair and rigorous in their decision making. I need to point out here that these universities also have an obligation to take students in what they call widening participation. These are areas where students may not have done as well because they haven't had the extra support or tutorials that say private schools have, and so we would always encourage our students to look into these areas if they have that potential and drive and passion for these courses or these universities. So October the 15th for Oxbridge Medicine, Veterinary and Dentistry. Secondly, in the majority of all our courses are the application deadline is on January the 15th, so that all the various things that the tutor and the student, the parent and the career service do must be done in time for this application. Thirdly, there are some portfolio-based courses such as art and design, and that is a later application deadline, which is March the 24th. Fourthly, there's something called clearing. Now, if say you applied, your child applied to 5 universities and didn't get accepted into any of them, they can apply through what's called clearing to universities where there are spare places. And so again, we support students in that what's called clearing program. And so we get to the final stage, which is accepting your place at university. And sometime between January and June, UCAS will come back to you via an email to your child and tell them which universities have given them a firm offer. And it would be predicated on the grades that the student will get in September, and sometimes they can be what's called an unconditional offer, which means that the student is guaranteed that place. And so the task of the student is to accept that firm offer, and then that's the end really of it. There will be other aspects that will come into place, which is the financial side of things with the student finance company, but that is something that we would support every student on in that process. You may defer your entry, so a university may say you've got on as long as you get these course qualifications, but you may ask to defer your entry, to delay it for a year while you take a gap year where you want to get some experience, step back a bit from formal education, and that is totally acceptable, and we will thoroughly support that in the cases where students feel that's a better choice for them. Thirdly, you may have done better than you expected, so you may have got 3 distinctions as opposed to 3 merits in your BTEC, or got an A and 2 Bs instead of a B and 2 Cs in your A levels. Now you can adjust to a different university, and that's available for up to 5 days after your results at universities that you previously applied to but maybe were not accepted in the first round. So that's it really. These are all aspect stages 1, 2, 3 and 4 that your child would be supported at the college while they are able to continue with their studies and not panic. And as I said before, we see over 500 students apply and be successful into their university qualifications. So thank you. That's a quick wrap round of the UCAS application and getting into universities, and that we would support you all the way with your child. And as with all other Parent Aid Ed videos, we would very much welcome any feedback and any queries to info@sgscol.ac.uk. We realise that you are a key element of your child getting to the next level. So we thank you very much for your support, and we're here supporting you all the way. Thank you.